Hi, I'm Tommy Blaze. Get used to it. In the news, recent studies indicate that drinking alcohol can help reduce the risk of heart attack. Apparently, alcohol thins the blood and reduces the risk of clots that can cause heart attacks. Opponents of this theory feel the initial benefits will be canceled out by the extra heart attacks caused by waking up next to someone you never would have slept with unless you were drunk to begin with. In Chicago, Illinois, 40-year-old Merrill Shapiro, suspected by police of robbing hundreds of homes, was arrested on one count of burglary based on statements he made as a guest on the Oprah Winfrey Show. Next on Oprah, people who should learn to keep their mouth shut. And finally, a new government poll reveals that 62% of the so-called Generation Xers would rather remain unemployed than accept a job they considered beneath them. Look, I naturally wouldn't care if the so-called future of America would rather veg out than work for a living, but then who's gonna flick my burger, Spanky? This is what I've been trying to tell you since we began this thing. Who cares about what you see on the news? Who cares what you read in the papers? Because that is not what it's all about. You wanna know what it's all about? Reality. Possessing a practical vision of who you are and having the presence of mind to accept it. You know what happens when you don't have a sense of reality? You have to have a case of Gatorade surgically removed from your skull. Let's find out how. Dateline, Waltham, Massachusetts. 21-year-old college student Randy Gibson was admitted to the emergency room with a .22 caliber bullet in his rear end and shards of glass sticking out of his head. Now, I know what you're thinking. Hell of a frat party. Dude, how was it? Man, it was awesome. I got shot in the ass. Now, that's not the reality of the situation. This is what really happened. Truth is, Randall, in order to help pay for his tuition, worked the graveyard shift at a local convenience store. One night, the store gets robbed by two armed men. Randy, thinking quickly, leaps over the counter in an attempt to thwart the holdup. After watching Batman movies and being so inspired by Batman's courage, he tried to mimic the Cape Crusader. What was this guy thinking about? Let's see. Before me stand two hardened, desperate criminals with loaded weapons. I am a pencil-neck geekazoid. Yeah, I could probably take them. The robbers were stunned, not only because this 120-pound weakling was stupid enough to try it, but also because eyewitnesses reported they actually heard Randy hum dun-dun-dun as he jumped over the counter. And apparently, that's when the burglars shot him in the ass. Not because they were being cruel, but because they were laughing so hard, the gun went off. He's lucky I wasn't there, because I would have laughed so hard, I'd have peed on his back. Explain that in the OR. Well, the gunshot sent Randy flying face first into the Gatorade display, knocking him out and leaving big pieces of glass embedded in his skull. People, if you're gonna live in a fantasy world, at least be realistic. Get your superhero facts straight. Superman's the guy who stops bullets. Batman's the guy who wears tights, slides down poles, and hangs out with a boy named Robin. Who would you rather be? I'll take this behind the curtain. Reality is not so bad, but things can get complicated. If we refuse to live within its confines, it can get out of hand. For example, several months ago, 78-year-old actor Anthony Quinn became the proud father of a bouncing baby boy. 78 years old. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying life is over at 78. I'm just saying fatherhood is one dance he probably should have sat out. Although I respect the hell out of the fact that at his age, he was able to get dressed to show up at all, if you know what I mean. But a 78-year-old dad, I can just hear that conversation. Look, Mommy, Daddy peed in his pants, too. Now, maybe it's me, but I want a father I can depend on, not a father with depends on. Reality, people, know thyself. Take a good look in the mirror. If you don't recognize the person looking back at you, then it's time for a reality check. Because if you don't, you'll wind up calling Commissioner Gordon to stop a 7-Eleven from being robbed by a 78-year-old man in a diaper. Now, that is reality. I have pronunciation. People, that's what it's all about.